Superhero movies come out every few months now, but back in 1989, Batman was an event, a milestone. Keep watching to relive that special summer or live it for the first time. On hearing that a Batman film was on its way, fans of The Dark Knight did not have their hopes up. For one, the campy 60s Batman series was still firmly established in the pop culture canon, even as more gritty interpretations were making their way to the comic book pages. Unfortunately, proving that nerd rage over superhero castings predates social media, the news that Beetlejuice himself, Michael Keaton, had been cast as Batman didn't help matters. To be fair, the news of Keaton's casting stunned everyone, not just comic fans. Even Batman executive producer Michael Uslan claims to have initially thought the casting news was a joke, and trades like Variety openly mocked the choice. Fans started letter-writing campaigns to change the studio's mind, including petitions.
A little disappointing, because I guess if you're growing up watching the comics and reading comics and watching the TV show, it's a lot different than I expected.
Considering how many fans will still tell you Keaton is their favorite Batman, this kind of nerd rage may seem inconceivable. But before you judge, think about how the general public looked at Michael Keaton in the 80s. At the time, all of Keaton's most commercially successful films, like Beetlejuice and Mr. Mom, were comedies. So to understand how Batman fans felt hearing Michael Keaton was playing Batman, just imagine if an actor best known for his sitcom work was cast in a superhero movie. The hype surrounding the release of 1989's Batman is the stuff of legend. All you need for proof is the very existence of so many online retrospectives, not necessarily about the film, but specifically the phenomenon, often referred to as Batmania at the time, created by Warner Brothers' Media Machine. Forbes' Scott Mendelson writes about being consciously gripped in bat fever before the release of Batman. For Comics Alliance, Patrick A. Reed recalls the quote, candy-filled Keaton heads in supermarket checkout aisles, and the Batmobile toys in Happy Meals, before concluding that, quote, the entire world had gone batty. The Washington Post remembers the hype transforming the film into a preordained event, and as a result, yielding huge financial returns. It worked. Batman raked in $43 million in its opening weekend, breaking numerous ticket sales records, including breaking the record for ticket sales not only on opening weekend, but for its second weekend too. One of the simplest and most effective marketing tools used to publicize Batman was the gold and black bat emblem that was seemingly in every shop in 1989. Whether you were at the supermarket buying groceries, in a department store buying clothes, or a fast food joint getting lunch, the Batman logo was everywhere. Part of the genius of Batman's marketing onslaught was realizing how instantly iconic that Bat logo already was. It was not at all uncommon, for example, to be met with the movie posters which didn't even include the name Batman, but simply the black and gold Bat logo and the release date, June 23rd. Paul Levitz, DC Comics executive vice president and publisher in 1989, joked that the Bat logo shirts were so successful that it caused a shortage of black cotton. The notion of using a superhero's logo similarly in marketing has since become practically mandatory, but in 1989, it was a novel and effective use of iconic imagery. Released the same month as Batman, the late Prince's hit single Batdance was as inescapable as any other Bat-related hype that summer. At turns, a chaotic dance song or a slow, funky groove, Batdance is liberally peppered with samples from the film, including arguably the Joker's most surprising exclamation.
This town needs an enema.
The single got a lot of negative reviews from critics, but it still hit the top of the Billboard charts in August 1989. And the video, like the song, is striking, wild, and kind of incoherent. Prince appears both as himself in kind of a Bat-cavey music studio and as a character known as Gemini who appears to be half Batman and half Joker. Along with stoking the already raging fire of Bat hype, Batdance was a huge win for Prince. The video won a Soul Train Award and helped make Prince's Batman soundtrack his first #1 album since 1985's Around the World in a Day. The notion that Batman is a darker hero shouldn't feel like a revelation, right? In the 21st century, if a new Batman project is announced, you can expect a gravelly-voiced vigilante who makes himself a friend to shadows. He broods, he mourns, and he finds gargoyles to perch on wherever he goes. It may surprise younger fans to know, however, that before Tim Burton's Batman, The Dark Knight's legacy was dominated by the camp of the 60s Batman series. Sure, the fans of the source material knew Gotham's greatest champion had wider variety in his stories than simply the over-the-top parodies found in the television show. But outside the comic book shop, most audiences heard the name Batman and thought of Adam West and Burt Ward climbing up walls or their ridiculous fistfights with the comic book sound effects like pow and biff superimposed over the melee. Curing pop culture of this association was one of the goals of lifelong Batman fan Michael Uslan in his decade-long crusade to get Batman made. In The Shadows of the Bat documentary, Uslan says, "For about 20 years, whenever anyone mentioned the word Batman, pow, zap, and wham were always attached to the name. I wanted to detach it and get back to the heart of the character." Considering the hero's more contemporary adaptations, it's clear 1989's Batman succeeded in forcing the hero away from his days dancing the Bat-Tusi. Just as Batman forced audiences to deal with a Dark Knight who was far more interested in vengeance than he was in puns, Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker made the world take the cackling maniac seriously. While he may seem cartoonish compared to grittier 21st century portrayals of the Joker, Nicholson had a take on the character that was a steep departure from what most audiences expected. Sure, by 1989, Alan Moore and Brian Boland's Batman the Killing Joke was making waves at the comic book shop. But the live-action Joker most people knew was played by Cesar Romero in the 60s Batman series. Not only did Romero famously refuse to even shave his mustache for the role, but we are in no danger of being contradicted when we point out that the hero of 1989's Batman kills more people in that film than Romero's Joker does in the entire 60s series. There's no better proof that Nicholson is largely responsible for the more complex directions Joker has taken in more contemporary times than the complaints of the guy who played him for 2 years. When the Associated Press asked for his reaction to the 1989 film, Cesar Romero called it, quote, dreary. Romero lamented, "Nicholson, who is such a wonderful actor and who has done such good work, is just so violent." While there will probably always be naysayers, the stories of comic book superheroes slogged a long road toward any kind of legitimacy, and 1989's Batman was one of the biggest steps down that road. In The Shadows of the Bat documentary, Michael Uslan gives an example of how superhero comics were viewed pre-Batman that still would sound familiar to any fan of the genre. While attending Indiana University in the 70s, Uslan took advantage of a program that allowed students to pitch courses that they would teach themselves. Uslan says when he applied to teach a course about comic book heroes, the college dean told him comic books were cheap entertainment and junk, not worthy of academic study. According to Uslan, he responded by illustrating how the origin story of Superman mirrored that of the biblical figure Moses, and as a result, his course was immediately approved. Batman's success not only helped legitimize superhero movies, but made them more attractive to actors and directors. Speaking about this to the Washington Post, Andrew Farago, author and curator for San Francisco's Cartoon Art Museum, listed visionary directors who would later attach themselves to superhero franchises, aptly wondering, who could have imagined a world with Kenneth Branagh directing Thor? Along with their many Easter eggs, contemporary superhero movies and TV shows are known for teasing fans by introducing characters who, should the adaptation follow the source material closely enough, could become superheroes or villains in future stories. For example, 2008's Iron Man hinted at James Rhodes becoming the armored hero War Machine, but fans had to wait one more movie for it.
Next time, baby.
Batman gave us a very early example of this kind of tease by casting Billy D. Williams as hero District Attorney Harvey Dent. Any DC Comics fan in the theater knew that Dent was destined to become the coin-tossing criminal Two-Face. With this character's appearance, the movie created a palpable sense among fans that there was more to come, and did it without pandering or shouting the reference from the rooftops. And while the part would eventually be recast with Tommy Lee Jones, the franchise did end up making good on its promise of adding Two-Face to Batman's rogues gallery in Batman Forever. Williams, meanwhile, eventually got to play the role of Two-Face decades later in the Lego Batman movie of all places. Batman also created the delicious sense that there was more on the way through its many absences. It was impossible to not ask who would play Robin, who would play Riddler, or who would play Penguin when he eventually showed up. Fans were casting the sequels before the original was out of theaters, and it was in theaters a long time. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.